So imagine you think you're going to go and play kickball and you're going to meet some friends out in the field. You get out there and the game starts and you realize that things look a little bit awkward because some people have tools, like they have a bat and they have gloves. A lot of other people are showing up to play kickball. So the game commences and nobody really announces anything. But people are having a different experience and it seems weird and we don't know why. That's kind of what it's like when we are in healthcare. Healthcare professionals, we show up with an understanding on the basis of physiology and biochemistry, anatomy, pharmacology. We feel as though we are getting into a game that has a lot more to do with science than people. And then we realize that what's going on here? I'm being asked questions and I feel like they're not supposed to be directed to me. I'm not in social work. At some point, maybe we do realize that we are in the people business and it's hard to work with people and human needs without somehow getting our hands into social work. But maybe we just keep going on and practicing what we think is medicine. We don't realize we're necessarily in the people business. And then people start asking us other questions. Again, we find ourselves in awkward situations. Somebody asks us about patient satisfaction, patient experience. And then we might think to ourselves, what is this? That stuff is pretty subjective. And it may not occur to us that patient experience is objective and patient satisfaction or customer satisfaction is subjective. We might go on and continue to play this game, but it gets harder and harder. We develop more expertise in our technical skills, but we don't necessarily develop more expertise in our people skills. And so it starts to feel like burnout because continually we are being asked questions as if we are playing a different game than what we thought we were showing up for. When we realize, I would suggest that we are in the service industry, everything changes. Yesterday, I was taking care of a gentleman, and his wife. He came into the hospital because he was having difficulty getting out of bed. He would get crazy spasms, and it's just been going on for about 4 or 5 days. He'd had an epidural injection, kind of emergent. He got admitted to the emergency department a couple days before, and he had a follow-up to see an outpatient neurologist colleague, but he couldn't make it. This was somebody who was pretty active, running and exercising every day. He was about 68 years old, but he'd been active all through his life. So I'm examining him, poking around on his around his lumbar spine and looking for tender areas. Didn't have much in the way of tender areas, but then he did have paraspinal tenderness in one very small spot, just very small. One of his calves was quite tender, suggesting that his L5S1 root was irritated. And then he was weak in the left toe. In order to evaluate his extension at his toe, I had to take his socks off, and he agreed to that. And then after I evaluated and shared with him and showed him and his wife, kind of by using my pinky against his left toe, both of them could tell that his left toe was weak. It was visible, and his wife could see it even though she couldn't necessarily feel it. But I could overcome his left toe with my pinky, but on the right side, I couldn't overcome his strength. So they realized that it correlated when I showed them the MRI where L5S1, the nerve root, would be, and shared that this is called radiculopathy when we get weak and when we have pain and when we get spasms associated with it. So then we went on to go further into our exchange, and I was getting ready to put his sock back on, both of them, and then he said, "You don't have to do that." And the wife had, this sort of outpouring. She said, "Oh my God, what services, wow, this is amazing." And I was, sort of down in the posture of helping to get his sock back on because I had taken it off. It was just sort of the logical thing to do, but it was also the service-oriented thing to do. It didn't occur to me until his wife said, "Hey, that's so nice, well, let him do it. I mean, that's an amazing service." And that's when it occurred to me that this was a service, but indeed we're in the service industry. And to me, it seemed logical. I had taken his socks off. Should I leave him with his socks off? I mean, it was just sort of reversing. So things get better and things get more sensible. It makes more sense. We become more effective when we realize what game we're in. When we realize we are in the service industry, when we realize we are in the people industry, when we realize that there's a social work component, and if we are not empathizing, if we don't meet people where they are, it's hard to be effective in helping them and partnering with them to offer them direction to where they want to go. Have a great day, guys. Keep winning.